Talking of collaboration in these modern times is kind of contradictory.
Why do you think is that?
The advent of global markets and the ever-growing push toward competition seems to detract from the ideas of cooperation and collaboration.
What do you think is generating this push?
This push toward competition stems from the evolutionary premise of survival of the fittest. Natural selection suggests competition, which by its own nature opposes cooperation or collaboration.
Competition opposes cooperation and/or collaboration except when particular dynamics mandate the opposite.
Which kind of dynamics could mandate the opposite? Cooperation implies renouncing to some of the own capacities to compete in favor of another individual or organization.
There are different dynamics that promote collaboration. One is having incomplete puzzles.
What do you mean by incomplete puzzles?
This dynamic suggests that none of the interested parties can achieve their goals solely by themselves. Collaboration implies the mutual need to achieve each one's goals. This need of the other can be absolute, such as in cases where it is completely impossible to achieve the own goals without the other. This need could also be relative, when it might be possible to achieve the own goals without the other, but it would require excessive efforts.
Besides of the absolute or relative need of the other, what other dynamics could drive collaboration instead of competition?
Novak described 5 additional dynamics for cooperation as follows: kin selection, direct reciprocity, indirect reciprocity, network reciprocity, and group selection.
What is kin selection?
Kin selection stems from the fact that people are capable of sacrificing themselves in favor of genetic relatives such as children, siblings, and parents.
How kin selection could be extrapolated to organizations?
Kin selection could be extended as affiliation, such as disciplinary affiliation, historic affiliation, or even language affiliation. Affiliations generate mutual interest.
What is the next dynamic? Is it direct reciprocity? What is direct reciprocity?
Direct reciprocity works when repeated encounters are almost certain. In this case, individuals cooperate with the hope of receiving the same cooperation back in future encounters.
What is indirect reciprocity? And what motivates it?
Indirect reciprocity works under the assumption that helping some individuals will create a good reputation that will almost surely be rewarded by others.
But reputation is sometimes difficult to communicate.
When this reputation is difficult to communicate, this approach loses ground.
The next dynamic is network reciprocity. What do you have to say about that?
Network reciprocity recognizes that people and organizations do not just help anyone. If that were the case, then in a competing society egotists will always triumph collaborators.
Then, how people and organizations deal with egotists who only want to receive?
Collaborators gather together and insulate themselves from egotists or opportunists, creating their own networks of reciprocity.
I think we are approaching the last dynamic that you are going to describe. What is this one about?
Finally, group selection stems from the fact that groups of cooperators are generally more successful than groups of egotists.
And what happens with that?
As a result, groups of cooperators have greater chances to grow and later split apart to become new independent groups.
So in a competitive environment there is a lot of room for collaboration.
Certainly it is. A competitive environment also generates important dynamics of cooperation and collaboration.